But the question at its core is always the same. And the question is, how can I love someone who has harmed me without further harming myself? How can I love someone who has harmed me without further harming myself? And very often, the person or the group that is asking this question has actually already tried to love across conflict and trauma, right? This is part of the tragedy of the question. It's like, we've given people so many chances. We've made ourselves so vulnerable. We once believed and still want to believe in the beautiful world where people are good to us, right? And if we just approach them with kindness and authenticity, then we won't be further harmed. But the truth is that sometimes we have been taken advantage of when we have tried to love across trauma or across conflict. We've been taken advantage of. We've been exploited. And sometimes it even feels like we've betrayed ourselves in our hearts. And this is what makes it really difficult. When we have been harmed, we have a rightful, natural, embodied reflex that says never again. I will never allow myself to be harmed, taken advantage of, exploited again. And that voice is so powerful. It emerges often from trauma, but that doesn't make it any less wise. That we need to claim our strength, our power, our rage even, in the wake of violence and terror and conflict. So we need that empowerment. And what's really tricky about this is that many of the people who come to my workshops, they already know, if all we are doing is claiming empowerment on an individual level, like no one will ever hurt me again, I will take care of myself, there is an edge that we can tip over into this place where we start to recreate a cycle of disconnection. And where we start to recreate a cycle of disconnection, there is another edge after that we can tip over, which is where we start to recreate a cycle. And I want to be very tender as I say this, where we can start to recreate a cycle of violence. And we see this pattern happening all the time on every scale. We see it in the sad case of parents who are harmed when they were children, and then as they are parenting their own children, start to replicate a cycle of violence because they're not able to shift from the context of their own childhood to being an adult and really being in the power that comes with being an adult. We see it on a political scale, like this question of should trans people be allowed to exist or not, often is couched in the language of protecting cisgender, or that is non-transgender women. And so there's often this energy of like, we need to get the trans people out of there to protect the cisgender women. And you can see how that is like, actually, it comes from trauma. It's a protective urge that then becomes disconnection and then becomes oppression. And we're really seeing it on a global stage where particular ethnic or nationalist groups are saying that because they have experienced victimization in the past, that justifies any measure that they need to take for security in the present and future, including war crimes or torture or genocide, right? It is a big, big cycle. So that's a really huge idea. Again, I just want to invite a lot of tenderness around that. And then to say what we need to interrupt that on the small scale, just really starting on the small scale, is any kind of sacred practice about love, about loving ourselves first, actually. This is kind of the tricky, confusing part. Any spiritual practice or politic that is about loving the other, especially the frightening other, the violent other, the other who has been our oppressor, the love politic and practice begins with loving ourselves. And this was very deep. It is not really that possible to love and be present for the other who has harmed us and ourselves at the same time if we haven't started our own process. And so for any of you who are listening to this lecture and are really feeling overwhelmed, I just invite you to come back to yourself. Love yourself first.